When Marcus Holloway spotted the sleek black wallet on the sidewalk outside the tech conference, he had exactly $4 to his name and hadn't eaten in 2 days. Inside the wallet lay several hundred in cash, platinum credit cards, and an ID that stopped him cold: Elon Musk. Despite his desperate circumstances, Marcus's moral compass never wavered. He would return it, not knowing this simple act of integrity would set in motion events that would transform not only his life, but countless others. Marcus Holloway hunched his shoulders against the bitter San Francisco wind as it whipped through the financial district. His weathered hands, once skilled enough to repair complex machinery on naval vessels, now clutched a thin cardboard sign that read, "Veteran. Any help appreciated." The late autumn chill penetrated his layers of mismatched clothing, but he'd endured worse during his 57 years. Today had been particularly disappointing. 7 hours on this corner had yielded exactly $4.37, not even enough for a proper meal. His stomach had long since stopped growling, having learned that persistent hunger was simply his new normal. "Time to pack it up," he muttered to himself, carefully folding his sign and tucking it into his army surplus backpack, one of the few possessions that reminded him of better days. As Marcus gathered his meager belongings, a commotion erupted across the street. A sleek black SUV had pulled up outside the Moscone Center, where some kind of tech conference was taking place. Camera flashes popped like lightning as someone emerged from the vehicle. Even from a distance, Marcus recognized the tall figure with the distinctive profile: Elon Musk, the tech billionaire whose face was plastered across magazines and newspapers. Marcus watched with detached curiosity. The lives of the ultra-wealthy seemed as distant to him as another planet. What would it be like, he wondered, to have so much money that losing some wouldn't even register as a concern? The crowd surged forward, security guards creating a pathway for Musk to enter the building. In the chaos, something fell from the billionaire's pocket, landing on the sidewalk. No one seemed to notice in the frenzy, no one except Marcus, whose eyes had been trained by military service to notice anomalies. After the crowd disappeared inside, Marcus crossed the street. There, on the ground, lay a slim black leather wallet. He glanced around. No security remained outside, no witnesses, just him, and what was undoubtedly a wallet containing more money than he'd see in months. Marcus picked it up, feeling its expensive texture. It was the kind of wallet that wasn't bought, but rather acquired, probably custom-made for its owner. He hesitated only briefly before opening it. Inside, neatly arranged, were several credit cards, black platinum, the kind without spending limits. A California driver's license featured Musk's unsmiling face. And cash. More cash than Marcus had held in years. Several crisp $100 bills. His hands trembled. This money could change everything, at least temporarily. A warm hotel room instead of the underpass where he'd been sleeping. Real food. Maybe even enough left over to help Lena get her prescription filled. No one would know. The billionaire probably had multiple wallets, multiple assistants to handle such inconveniences. Would he even notice this one was missing? Marcus closed his eyes, a wave of memories washing over him. His father's voice echoed from childhood. A Holloway man returns what isn't his, no matter what. The military code that had become his backbone: honor is doing the right thing when no one is watching. He snapped the wallet shut and tucked it securely into his inner jacket pocket. The Moscone Center's glass doors loomed before him, a barrier between his world and theirs. Inside, men and women in expensive suits moved with purpose, electronic badges dangling from lanyards. At the security desk, a young guard with a tight haircut eyed Marcus suspiciously as he approached. "Can I help you?" the guard asked, his tone making it clear that help was the last thing he intended to offer. "I need to return this," Marcus said, producing the wallet. "It belongs to Elon Musk. He dropped it outside." The guard's expression shifted from dismissive to incredulous. "Right, and I'm Jeff Bezos," he said, making no move to take the wallet. "Look inside if you don't believe me," Marcus insisted, his patience wearing thin. 2 days without food had shortened his usually substantial tolerance for condescension. With obvious skepticism, the guard took the wallet and flipped it open. His eyes widened, almost comically. "Wait here," he ordered, suddenly alert. He spoke rapidly into his radio, eyes never leaving Marcus as though expecting him to bolt. Minutes stretched uncomfortably as Marcus stood under the scrutiny of not just the first guard, but now a second who had materialized nearby. Attendees gave him a wide berth as they passed, some wrinkling their noses at his unwashed presence in their pristine environment. Finally, a woman in a tailored charcoal suit approached, her heels clicking authoritatively on the polished floor. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and she wore the harried expression of someone perpetually racing against time. "You found Mr. Musk's wallet?" she asked without preamble. "Yes, ma'am." "Outside when he was arriving." She studied him with calculating eyes. "And you didn't take anything from it?" Marcus straightened his posture instinctively, military bearing returning. "No, ma'am, everything's there as I found it." She opened the wallet, inventorying its contents with quick efficiency. After a moment, she looked up, mild surprise registering on her face. "Well, Mr. Musk is in meetings all day, but on his behalf, thank you for your honesty." She reached into the wallet and extracted one of the $100 bills. "Please accept this as a token of appreciation." Marcus hesitated. He needed that money desperately. But something about the transaction felt wrong, like he was being paid off, dismissed. "I didn't do it for a reward," he said quietly. The woman seemed taken aback, as though the concept was foreign to her. Nevertheless, she insisted, pressing the bill into his palm. "Mr. Musk would want you to have it." Before Marcus could respond, she turned to the security guard. "Please see that this gentleman finds his way out." And just like that, the interaction was over. The assistant disappeared into the building's depths, Musk's wallet safely retrieved, her good deed for the day complete. The guard gestured toward the exit, a clear dismissal. "Have a nice day," he said, the words empty of any genuine sentiment. Outside, the wind seemed colder than before. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, the $100 bill clutched in his fist. He should feel good about what he'd done. He knew he'd upheld his principles, maintained his integrity despite crushing poverty. So why did he feel so hollow? "Because principles don't keep you warm at night, old man," he murmured to himself, tucking the money securely into his shoe, the safest place he knew. As Marcus began the long walk back to the underpass he called home, he imagined for a moment what it might have been like to actually meet the billionaire, to shake his hand and be acknowledged as a fellow human being rather than a curiosity to be managed by staff. The fantasy made him smile ruefully. Men like Elon Musk didn't intersect with men like Marcus Holloway. The sun was beginning its descent as he reached the homeless encampment beneath the highway overpass. Familiar faces nodded in greeting. Lena with her shopping cart of carefully organized possessions, young Dante attempting to repair a discarded radio, old Pete warming his hands over a small fire in a metal drum. "Any luck today, Marcus?" Lena called, her voice hoarse from years of hard living. Marcus patted his shoe where the $100 bill was hidden. "Some," he replied. "Enough to get us all something hot to eat tonight." Their faces lit up at the prospect, and Marcus felt the hollow feeling begin to subside. This was his world now, these people, his community. He'd done the right thing today, and while the wallet's owner would likely never give him another thought, Marcus could sleep tonight knowing his father would have been proud. Little did he know, as he settled in for another night under the stars, that Elon Musk was a man who noticed details, and Marcus Holloway had just registered as a very interesting anomaly on the billionaire's radar. The storm clouds gathered ominously as Marcus distributed portions of the hot soup he'd purchased with the $100 bill. He'd made it stretch, buying a large container of soup from a nearby deli, day-old bread at a discount, and even some fruit that was nearly past its prime, but still edible. After setting aside enough for Lena's heart medication, there was still $20 left, which he tucked away for emergencies. "You're a miracle worker, Marcus," Lena said, her arthritic hands wrapped gratefully around the steaming cup. At 72, she was the oldest resident of their small community under the bridge. Once a kindergarten teacher, a series of medical catastrophes had drained her savings and eventually left her on the streets. "It's nothing special," Marcus replied, though the smile lines around his eyes deepened. "Just lucky today." Dante, barely 17, with eyes too old for his face, slurped his soup noisily. "Where'd you score the cash, Marcus? You never said." "Return something valuable to its owner," Marcus answered simply. He never lied to the boy, but some details were better left unsaid. Dante had enough trouble staying on the right path without hearing about opportunities for easy money. "Someone actually paid you for being honest?" Dante scoffed. "That's a first." Marcus met the teenager's cynical gaze. "Integrity isn't about rewards, Dante. It's about who you are when nobody's looking." "Yeah, well, being good hasn't exactly worked out for any of us, has it?" Dante gestured around their makeshift camp. Tarps were strung between concrete pillars. Shopping carts were filled with possessions. Cardboard was laid down as insulation against the cold ground. Marcus had no easy answer for that. His own journey to homelessness was evidence of how quickly life could unravel, even for those who played by the rules. The first drops of rain began to fall, heavy and cold. "Storm's coming in faster than I thought," Marcus observed, looking up at the darkening sky. "Better secure everything." The small community moved with practiced efficiency, tightening tarp lines, moving possessions to higher ground away from potential flooding, and creating channels for water runoff. They'd been through this drill many times before. As Marcus helped Lena move her cart to a drier location, his mind drifted back 15 years to when his life had been entirely different. He'd been a mechanical engineer at a fence contractor, with a comfortable home in Oakland, and Sarah, his wife of 20 years, by his side. Their modest house had featured a garden where Sarah grew tomatoes and zucchini in summer. He'd built the raised garden beds with his own hands. Then came the diagnosis: aggressive pancreatic cancer. 6 months later, Sarah was gone, taking with her all the light in Marcus's world. The nightmares from his military service, which she had helped keep at bay, returned with a vengeance. The panic attacks made it impossible to concentrate at work. Eventually, he was let go with a small severance package and well-intentioned advice to take care of himself. The severance ran out, so did his savings. When he could no longer afford the mortgage, the bank took the house. The garden beds Sarah had loved so much were gone. And just like that, Marcus Holloway, decorated Navy veteran, skilled engineer, devoted husband, became another statistic, another invisible man on the streets of San Francisco. "You're doing it again," Lena's voice broke into his thoughts, traveling back in time. "I can always tell." Marcus smiled ruefully. "Hard habit to break." "Past is past," she said firmly. "Only thing that matters is getting through tonight's storm." She was right, of course. Survival had a way of focusing the mind on immediate concerns, and this storm looked like it would be a bad one. By nightfall, the rain was coming down in sheets, the wind howling through the concrete pillars of the overpass. Despite their preparations, water began seeping in at the edges of their tarps. Dante appeared at Marcus's side, soaking wet and agitated. Old Pete's tarp tore loose. He's getting drenched. Without hesitation, Marcus followed Dante to where the elderly man huddled, shivering as rain poured through a large tear in his shelter. Wordlessly, Marcus removed his own rain jacket, one of his few remaining possessions from his old life, and used it to patch the tear, securing it with some twine from his pack. "You didn't have to do that," Old Pete mumbled, embarrassment coloring his gratitude. "We look out for each other," Marcus replied simply. "That's how we survive." By the time Marcus made it back to his own spot, his clothes were soaked through. The temperature was dropping rapidly, and he knew from experience that the next several hours would be miserable. Still, he'd endured worse in the Navy. He settled in, wrapping himself in a damp blanket and prepared for a long night. Around midnight, the storm reached its peak. Wind lashed at their makeshift shelters, that threatening to tear them away entirely. Marcus made rounds, checking on the others, helping to reinforce weak spots. He was so focused on this task that he didn't notice the sleek black Tesla SUV that slowly circled the block, its headlights briefly illuminating their encampment before continuing on. When dawn finally broke, the storm had passed, leaving behind a clear sky and considerable damage. Several tarps had been torn away completely. Much of their cardboard bedding was soaked through. Lena's shopping cart had been toppled by the wind, its contents scattered. Marcus's body ached from the cold and damp as he helped the others salvage what they could. Despite the discomfort, there was a quiet satisfaction in their coordinated efforts, a reminder that even here, community mattered. "Marcus," Dante called, his voice pitched higher than usual. "Someone's coming." Marcus turned to see a woman in a business suit picking her way carefully toward them. looking distinctly out of place among the puddles and debris. He recognized her immediately, the assistant from the day before, the one who had taken Musk's wallet. She stopped several feet away, her expression a mixture of determination and discomfort. "Marcus Holloway?" she asked, consulting a tablet in her hand. "That's me," Marcus confirmed, suddenly conscious of his bedraggled appearance. "My name is Vanessa Chen, Mr. Musk's executive assistant." She glanced around at the destroyed campsite. "I've been asked to locate you." Marcus felt Dante and Lena step closer to him, protective in their curiosity. "Why would Elon Musk want to locate me?" Vanessa consulted her tablet again. "Mr. Musk wishes to thank you personally for returning his wallet. He'll be in the area this morning and would like to meet with you." A rush of murmurs spread through the small group. Dante's eyes were wide with disbelief. "You returned Elon Musk's wallet? That's where the money came from?" Marcus ignored the question, focusing on Vanessa. "I appreciate the gesture, but as you can see, we've had a rough night. I'm not exactly presentable for a meeting." "That's not a concern," Vanessa replied efficiently. "A car will pick you up in 1 hour. We can provide fresh clothes." She handed him a business card with an address written on the back. "Please be at this corner at 9 a.m. sharp." Before Marcus could formulate a response, she turned and walked away, her heels somehow avoiding every puddle in her path. Lena clutched his arm excitedly. "Elon Musk wants to meet you, Marcus. This could change everything." "It's just a thank you," Marcus cautioned, though a spark of hope had ignited in his chest. Rich people do this sort of thing to feel good about themselves. Don't read too much into it. But as he gathered what few presentable items of clothing remained dry, Marcus couldn't help wondering what the billionaire could possibly want from him. One thing was certain. After 15 years of invisibility, Marcus Holloway had somehow caught the attention of one of the most powerful men in the world, and that was either very good luck or very bad luck. Experience had taught him it was usually the latter. Marcus stood on the street corner at precisely 8:55 a.m., wearing his cleanest pair of jeans and a button-up shirt that Dante had scavenged from a donation bin last month. He'd managed to wash his face and hands in a public bathroom and had combed his gray-streaked hair with his fingers. It wasn't much, but it was the best he could do. "You clean up nice," Lena had told him with a wink as he left their camp. "Remember to stand up straight and don't let him talk down to you. You're every bit as good as any billionaire." Her words echoed in his mind as a black Tesla pulled silently to the curb. The window lowered to reveal a young man in a suit. "Mr. Holloway?" the driver asked. Marcus nodded, hesitating only briefly before opening the door and sliding into the plush leather interior. The car smelled new and expensive, making him acutely aware of his own scent, a mixture of unwashed clothes and the public soap he'd used. "Where are we going?" Marcus asked as they pulled away from the curb. "Mr. Musk is having breakfast at the Fairmont Hotel," the driver replied. "He's between meetings and has a 20-minute window to see you." 20 minutes? Marcus almost laughed. Apparently, even gratitude was scheduled to the minute in a billionaire's world. The drive was short but surreal. San Francisco scrolled by outside the window, the same streets Marcus walked daily, now viewed from inside a luxury vehicle. They passed not far from the underpass where his friends were likely still sorting through storm-damaged belongings. At the Fairmont, the driver escorted Marcus through the ornate lobby, where guests in expensive clothes glanced curiously at him. He was led to a private dining room where Elon Musk sat alone at a table, typing rapidly on a laptop. Musk looked up as they entered. "Marcus Holloway," he said, rising to his feet. "Thank you for coming." Marcus was struck by how ordinary the tech billionaire looked up close, tall and lean, dressed in a simple black t-shirt and jeans, not unlike Marcus's own, though undoubtedly much more expensive. "Didn't have much else on my calendar today," Marcus replied, immediately regretting the sarcasm. But Musk actually smiled, gesturing to the chair across from him. "Please, sit. Have you eaten? The French toast here is excellent." Before Marcus could respond, Musk was already signaling a waiter and ordering for both of them. There was something almost manic about his energy, as though his mind was simultaneously processing a dozen different thoughts. "My assistant tells me you returned my wallet yesterday," Musk said once they were alone again, "without taking anything from it." "That's right." Why? The question caught Marcus off guard. Excuse me? Why did you return it? Musk clarified, leaning forward. According to my security team, you're homeless. That wallet contained over $2,000 in cash plus credit cards. Yet you returned it intact. I'm curious. Why? Marcus bristled at the clinical assessment of his situation. Being homeless doesn't make me a thief, Mr. Musk. Please, call me Elon, the billionaire said, waving away the formality. And I didn't mean to imply it did. But let's be honest. Most people in your situation would have considered it a stroke of luck and taken the money. Most people in your situation would have assistants to keep track of their wallets, Marcus countered. Guess we're both exceptions. To his surprise, Musk laughed, a genuine unrestrained sound. Fair point. And you only accepted $100 as a reward when Vanessa tried to give you more. That's what really caught my attention. The food arrived, and Marcus had to concentrate not to fall upon it like a starving man. The French toast was indeed excellent, rich with cinnamon and butter, a far cry from the day-old bread that constituted his usual meals. You know what else was in that wallet? Musk continued between bites. Notes about 3 unreleased products. Handwritten. Old school, I know. But I find it helps me think. Those notes would be worth millions to my competitors. Marcus paused, fork midway to his mouth. I didn't look at any papers in the wallet. I believe you, Musk said, which makes you either the most honest man in San Francisco or very stupid, Marcus finished for him. I was going to say, or someone with an unusual agenda, but we can go with your version, Musk replied with a hint of amusement. So, which is it? Exceptionally honest or exceptionally stupid? Marcus set down his fork. My father used to say that character is what you do when no one is watching. I was raised to believe that a man's integrity matters more than his circumstances. Something shifted in Musk's expression, a flicker of recognition, perhaps even respect. Your father sounds like a wise man. He was, Marcus agreed. Marine Corps, 2 tours in Vietnam, came back and worked construction until lung cancer took him. Never complained, never took what wasn't his. And you? My assistant mentioned you're a veteran. Navy, 20 years. Served on the USS Nimitz as an engineering specialist. Musk's eyes sharpened with interest. Engineering what kind? Mechanical. I was responsible for maintaining propulsion systems. And after the Navy? Marcus's appetite suddenly diminished. After the Navy, I worked for Northrop Grumman for 12 years. Then my wife died. Things fell apart. He wasn't about to share the details of his downward spiral with this man. The nightmares that drove him to drink. The panic attacks that made it impossible to function in an office. The medical bills that drained his savings. The foreclosure notice that arrived the same week as the final rejection letter from the VA. To his credit, Musk didn't press for details. Instead, he sat back, studying Marcus with new interest. So, you're an engineer with military experience who's fallen on hard times but maintained your principles. Interesting. The way he said interesting made Marcus uncomfortable, as though he were a specimen under a microscope. Look, Mr. Musk, Elon. Elon, I appreciate the breakfast, but I'm not sure why I'm here. If it's just to satisfy your curiosity about why someone would do the decent thing, then I should probably get going. Actually, Musk said, closing his laptop, I brought you here because I like to thank people personally when they do me a good turn. It's not as common as you might think. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a business card, sliding it across the table. And because I might have a proposition for you. Marcus picked up the card. It was plain white with only a phone number printed in black. That's my private line, Musk explained. Call it tomorrow at 10 a.m. I have some thoughts about how someone with your background and moral clarity might be valuable to my organization. Before Marcus could formulate a response, Musk glanced at his watch and stood. I'm late for my next meeting. The car will take you wherever you'd like to go. He extended his hand. It was a pleasure meeting you, Marcus Holloway. The handshake was firm, brief, and oddly formal, as though sealing a deal whose terms Marcus didn't fully understand. As quickly as he had arrived, Elon Musk was gone, leaving Marcus alone in the private dining room with an empty plate and a business card that felt impossibly heavy in his hand. The driver was waiting outside. Where to, sir? He asked, opening the car door. Marcus hesitated. He should go back to the camp. Tell Lena and Dante about this strange encounter. Show them the card with its promise of what exactly? Sir, the driver prompted. The public library, Marcus decided, on Lynn Street. He needed to think, to research, to understand what had just happened, because Elon Musk didn't strike him as a man who did anything without multiple reasons, and genuine gratitude seemed unlikely to be at the top of that list. At the library, Marcus spent hours reading everything he could find about Musk's companies, his management style, the rumors about how he treated employees. The picture that emerged was complex. A brilliant but demanding visionary who pushed both himself and others to their limits. A man who could be both extraordinarily generous and callously dismissive. Someone who changed the rules of whatever game he played. By the time Marcus returned to the underpass, the sun was setting. Lena and Dante rushed to meet him, eager for details. So? Dante demanded, practically bouncing with anticipation. What happened? What's he like? Did he give you money? He gave me breakfast. Marcus replied, still processing the encounter. And this, he showed them the card. Lena squinted at it. Just a phone number. What's it for? He wants me to call him tomorrow. Said something about a proposition. Like a job? Dante's eyes widened. Marcus, this could be your ticket out. Or a publicity stunt, Marcus cautioned. Rich people sometimes do charity cases to make themselves look good. You're not a charity case, Lena said firmly. You're a skilled engineer who hit hard times. If he's smart enough to see that, you should at least hear what he has to say. Marcus tucked the card safely away. Maybe. We'll see. That night, as he lay on his cardboard bed listening to the sounds of the city above, Marcus turned the morning's events over in his mind. Something about the intensity in Musk's gaze when he'd mentioned engineering experience nagged at him. It hadn't felt like pity or charity. It had felt like calculation. Marcus had seen that look before. In the eyes of commanding officers evaluating assets for a mission, it was the look of someone who had just found an unexpected but potentially useful tool. The question was, useful for what? Morning came too quickly. Marcus had barely slept, his mind churning with possibilities and doubts in equal measure. The business card with Musk's number felt like it was burning a hole in his pocket. You're going to wear a path in the concrete, Lena observed as Marcus paced back and forth near their makeshift camp. It was 9:45 a.m., and the decision loomed before him. I'm just not sure what to expect, Marcus admitted, or if I should expect anything at all. What's the worst that could happen? Dante asked, fiddling with the broken radio he was still trying to repair. He says, just kidding, and hangs up? No, Marcus replied. The worst is that he offers something I can't refuse, and then I have to figure out how to function in a world I left behind a long time ago. Lena's face softened. You're afraid of hoping again. Marcus stopped pacing. She'd hit the nail on the head. Hope was dangerous for people in their situation. Hope led to disappointment, and disappointment was a luxury they couldn't afford. You should call, Lena continued, her voice gentle but firm. Not just for yourself, but for all of us who still need to believe that second chances are possible. Marcus checked his watch, a cheap digital model he'd found in a donation box. It was 9:58 a.m. I need to find a quiet place to make this call. Use my spot, old Pete offered unexpectedly. He rarely spoke, and his voice was raspy from years of silence. It's behind that concrete pillar. No one will bother you there. With a nod of thanks, Marcus walked to old Pete's corner of their camp. It was indeed more private, shielded by a large pillar and a stack of wooden pallets. He sat down on an overturned milk crate, took a deep breath, and at precisely 10 a.m. dialed the number on the card. It rang only once before a voice answered. Marcus, right on time. It was Musk himself. Not an assistant, not a secretary. The directness took Marcus by surprise. Yes, sir, I'm calling as you suggested. Good. I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday, just so that your background is interesting. Military, engineering experience, private sector work. Tell me, how familiar are you with renewable energy systems? The questions seemed to come out of nowhere. I worked on nuclear propulsion in the Navy, and at Northrop I was involved in designing more efficient cooling systems for aircraft. There was the sound of typing in the background. What about electric motors, battery technology? I understand the principles, though my hands-on experience is limited to basic electrical systems on naval vessels. But you could learn quickly. Marcus hesitated. I've always been a fast learner, but I should be upfront. I've been out of the field for several years now. How long? 5 years since I worked in any professional capacity. More typing sounds. And your current situation. How long have you been homeless? The bluntness of the question stung, but Marcus appreciated the lack of euphemisms. 3 years, give or take. Mental health issues? Substance abuse problems? The questions came rapid fire, clinical in their delivery. I have PTSD from my service, Marcus answered honestly. It got worse after my wife died. I don't have a drinking problem anymore, though I did for a while. Criminal record? No, sir. There was a pause. Then, I want to offer you a job, Marcus. The words hung in the air, simple yet enormous in their implication. What kind of job? Marcus asked cautiously. An engineering position at Tesla. Entry level to start, with potential for advancement based on performance. We need people who can think creatively about problems, who understand mechanical systems, who have experience working under pressure. Military veterans often excel in our environment. Marcus's mind raced. This was beyond anything he'd expected. Not charity or a handout, but a real job. In his field, it seemed too good to be true. I'm living under a bridge, Mr. Musk. I don't have proper clothes for interviews, a permanent address, or even regular access to a shower. Those are logistics, not obstacles, Musk replied dismissively. We can provide temporary housing while you get on your feet. As for clothes, I'm wearing a t-shirt right now that costs $12. Tesla isn't about appearances. May I ask why? Marcus finally voiced the question that had been nagging at him. Why offer this to someone in my situation when you could hire a recent graduate with fresh knowledge? There was a pause before Musk answered. 3 reasons. First, returning my wallet showed integrity, which can't be taught. Second, your background suggests you can handle stress and solve problems creatively. And third, another pause. Let's just say I believe in giving people second chances when they deserve them. Something in his tone suggested there was more to it than that. But Marcus didn't press. I appreciate the offer, I truly do, but I need to think about it. What's there to think about? Musk sounded genuinely perplexed. It's a job, in your field, with good pay, benefits, and housing assistance. Marcus thought about Lena, with her heart condition, about young Dante, who needed guidance more than anything, about the small community that had become his family when he had nothing else. I have commitments here, he said finally, people who depend on me. Bring them. What? Your friends, under the bridge. Bring them. We can find something for them too. Marcus was speechless. The casual way Musk offered to upend multiple lives was both unsettling and strangely touching. I don't think it works that way, Marcus managed finally. These are people with their own stories, their own choices to make. Fine, Musk conceded, but the offer stands for you. A car will pick you up tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the same corner as yesterday. You'll meet with HR, tour the facility, and if everything checks out, you can start on Monday. And if I say no, then you stay under your bridge and I find another engineer. Musk's tone wasn't unkind, just matter of fact. But I think you're smarter than that. The call ended abruptly, leaving Marcus staring at the phone in his hand. He walked back to where Lena and Dante waited anxiously. Well? Lena prompted when Marcus said nothing. He offered me a job at Tesla. Engineering position, entry level. Dante's whoop of excitement echoed under the bridge. I knew it, I told you. Lena's smile was quieter, but no less joyful. Oh, Marcus, that's wonderful. There's more, Marcus continued. Temporary housing, help getting set up. A car is coming tomorrow to take me for an interview and tour. This is it, Dante said, practically bouncing. Your ticket out. But Lena was watching Marcus's face carefully. There's something else. What's wrong? Marcus sank down onto a milk crate. I can't just leave you all. Who's going to make sure you get your medication? Who's going to keep Dante out of trouble? Who's going to help old Pete when the weather turns bad? We survived before you came along, Lena said gently. We'll survive after you move on. I asked if you could come too, Marcus admitted. He said yes, just like that, as if relocating people is as simple as moving chess pieces. Lena took his hand, her skin paper thin over prominent veins. Listen to me, Marcus Holloway. You have been our guardian angel for 3 years, giving more than you took, helping whenever you could. But this isn't your life. It's a detour. You have a chance to get back on your path, and you're going to take it. But, no buts, she interrupted firmly. If you turn this down because of us, I will never speak to you again. Her eyes twinkled, softening the threat. Besides, once you're established, who's to say you can't help us even more effectively from the inside? Marcus looked from Lena's determined face to Dante's excited one, then around at the small community that had become his family of circumstance. They were all watching, and he realized with a start that they were proud of him, proud that one of their own was being recognized for his worth. Okay, he said finally, I'll go tomorrow, see what happens. That night, as Marcus prepared for bed, Dante approached, uncharacteristically shy. Hey, Marcus, when you get your first paycheck, would you maybe help me get into that GED program at the community center? The one I told you about? Marcus felt his throat tighten. That's the first thing I'll do, kid. Promise. Morning arrived with a clarity unusual for San Francisco. The fog had lifted, revealing a brilliant blue sky. As Marcus stood on the corner, wearing his cleanest clothes, hair still damp from the public showers he'd visited at dawn, the same black Tesla pulled up precisely at 9 a.m. This time, however, it wasn't a driver who emerged, but Vanessa Chen, Musk's assistant. Good morning, Mr. Holloway, she greeted him, her tone considerably warmer than during their previous encounters. Ready for your big day? As Marcus settled into the car, he caught a glimpse of his friends watching from a distance. Lena smiling proudly, Dante giving an enthusiastic thumbs up, even old Pete raising a hand in farewell. For the first time in years, Marcus allowed himself to feel something dangerous, hope. The Tesla headquarters loomed before Marcus like a gleaming spaceship, all curved glass and sleek lines. As Vanessa led him through the entrance, he felt painfully out of place among the young professionals in casual but expensive clothes, most clutching coffee cups while staring intently at their phones. First stop is HR, Vanessa explained, swiping her badge at various security checkpoints. They'll need to process some paperwork. Then we'll get you set up with temporary credentials. Marcus nodded, trying to appear calmer than he felt. Inside, his heart hammered against his ribs. It had been years since he'd set foot in a corporate environment, and the sensory overload was almost overwhelming. The hum of air conditioning, the faint smell of coffee and electronics, the squeak of his worn shoes on polished floors. Nervous? Vanessa asked, noticing his silence. A little, Marcus admitted. It's been a while. Her expression softened. Just be yourself. That's who Mr. Musk wants to hire. The HR meeting passed in a blur of forms and questions. Marcus had to admit he had no permanent address, no bank account, no recent employment history. The HR representative, a young woman named Priya, handled these admissions with professional discretion, making notes without judgment. Mr. Musk has authorized an advance on your first paycheck, she explained, sliding a company debit card across the desk. This should help with immediate expenses. We've also arranged temporary housing at a corporate apartment for up to 3 months, by which time you should be able to secure your own place. Marcus stared at the card in disbelief. That's very generous. It's practical, Priya corrected with a smile. We need you functional and focused. Now let's talk about your start date. By noon, Marcus had a temporary employee badge, a corporate apartment key, and a start date for the following Monday. Vanessa whisked him through a tour of the engineering department, introducing him to people whose names blurred together in his overwhelmed mind. The technology was both familiar and foreign. Some principles remained unchanged from his days at Northrop Grumman, but the applications and innovations made him feel like Rip Van Winkle waking after a long sleep. And this is where you'll be working, Vanessa concluded, showing him to a desk in a large open-plan office. You'll be part of the battery efficiency team. Marcus ran his hand along the edge of the desk. When does Mr. Musk expect me to be up to speed? Yesterday, Vanessa replied with a straight face, then broke into a smile at Marcus's alarmed expression. I'm kidding, sort of. You'll have training. But yes, the learning curve is steep here. After the tour, she drove him to the corporate apartment. Yes, a small but modern one-bedroom unit in a building clearly designed for temporary employee housing. It was sparsely furnished, but had clean lines and new appliances. To Marcus, who had been sleeping under a bridge for 3 years, it looked like a palace. The fridge is stocked with basics, Vanessa explained. Your new work clothes will be delivered later today. Is Is there anything else you need immediately? Marcus thought of his few possessions still under the bridge. I need to collect my things, and I'd like to say a proper goodbye to my friends. Vanessa hesitated, then nodded. I'll have a car pick you up in 2 hours. Will that be enough time to get settled? After she left, Marcus stood in the center of the silent apartment, overwhelmed by the sudden change in his circumstances. He walked from room to room, touching surfaces, opening cabinets, hardly believing this space was his, even temporarily. The shower nearly undid him. Hot water, unlimited, with real soap and shampoo. He stood under the spray until his skin wrinkled, washing away years of public restroom cleanups and cold water rinses. Clean, dressed in freshly laundered clothes from the apartment's closet, slightly too large but wonderfully free of patches and stains, Marcus felt like a different person. But when he caught his reflection in the bathroom mirror, the same weathered face stared back, older than his 57 years, lined with experiences, both good and bad, eyes still carrying the shadows of loss. Don't get too comfortable, he warned his reflection. This could all disappear as quickly as it came. As promised, a car arrived to take him back to the underpass. The driver remained tactfully silent as they approached the homeless encampment, parking a discreet distance away. I'll wait here, sir, he said, using the honorific that still sounded strange to Marcus's ears. The contrast between the gleaming Tesla and the makeshift shelters under the bridge couldn't have been more stark. Marcus felt a pang of guilt as he approached his friends, now dressed in clean clothes while they remained in their worn garments. Dante spotted him first, eyes widening. Oh. Whoa. Look at you, all corporate. The others gathered around, examining his transformation with a mixture of joy and wistfulness. They're really doing right by you, Lena observed, touching the sleeve of his new shirt. It's just temporary, Marcus assured them, uncomfortable with the sudden difference in their circumstances. Listen, I came to get my things, and to thank you all. Already saying goodbye? Old Pete grumbled. Awful quick to forget where you came from. I'm not forgetting anything, Marcus replied firmly. Or anyone. But I start work on Monday, and they've provided an apartment in the meantime. He began gathering his meager possessions, his backpack containing a few clothes, a dog-eared copy of To Kill a Mockingbird that had been Sarah's favorite, a small metal box with his Navy medals and wedding ring. Everything he owned fit into one bag. As he packed, he pulled Lena aside. I want you to have this, he said, pressing the company debit card into her hand. It has an advance on my first paycheck. Enough for your medicine, and then some. Lena pushed it back. Absolutely not. That's for you to get established. I don't need it, Marcus insisted. The apartment is stocked, clothes are provided, everything is taken care of. Please, Lena, let me do this. After some argument, she reluctantly accepted, tears welling in her eyes. You always were too stubborn for your own good. Saying goodbye to Dante was harder. The boy tried to maintain his tough exterior, but his voice cracked when he spoke. So, I guess this is it, huh? This is not it, Marcus replied firmly. I meant what I said about the GED program, and you can call me anytime. He pressed his new company phone into Dante's hand. My number is programmed in. Use it. As Marcus prepared to leave, he addressed the small group one last time. I don't know what's going to happen with this job. It might work out, it might not, but if it does, I promise I won't forget where I've been, or who helped me survive it. The drive back to the apartment was silent, Marcus lost in thought as he processed the abrupt transition. By evening, deliveries had arrived. Work clothes in his size, a laptop, several books on current battery technology, and a welcome packet with his schedule for Monday. He spent the weekend studying, trying to absorb as much as possible before his first day. The technical concepts came back more easily than expected, his engineering background providing a foundation for the new information. Monday morning arrived with a mixture of anticipation and dread. Marcus dressed carefully in his new clothes, ate a proper breakfast, still a luxury after years of uncertain meals, and headed to his first day at Tesla. The initial weeks passed in a blur of training sessions, introductions, and information overload. Marcus worked harder than he had in years, staying late to catch up on concepts his younger colleagues seemed to grasp intuitively. He kept largely to himself, aware of the curious glances and whispered speculations about his unusual hiring. His immediate supervisor, Raj Patel, was a brilliant engineer, 30 years his junior, who had apparently been briefed on Marcus's situation. He was patient with questions, but uncompromising on expectations. Age isn't relevant here, Raj told him after a particularly challenging day. Neither is your background. Results are what matter. Marcus appreciated the direct approach. He didn't want special treatment or pity, just a fair chance to prove himself. By the end of his first month, he had settled into a routine. Work during the day, study in the evenings, weekly calls to check on Lena and Dante. He was gratified to hear that Dante had enrolled in the GED program, using the money Marcus had left for Lena to buy proper school supplies. Marcus had yet to see Elon Musk again. The billionaire was apparently traveling, overseeing multiple companies and projects. Marcus sometimes wondered if he'd been forgotten, a momentary charitable impulse now delegated to HR and middle management. Then came the battery efficiency project. Marcus's team was tasked with improving power storage for the next generation of vehicles. During a brainstorming session, Marcus hesitantly suggested an approach based on cooling systems he'd worked with in the Navy. That wouldn't work with our current configuration, one young engineer dismissed immediately. Not as is, Marcus agreed, but if we modified the arrangement of the cells and introduced a passive cooling element here. He sketched quickly on the whiteboard, drawing from both his naval experience and the new technology he'd been studying. The room fell silent as his colleagues considered the drawing. That's actually quite elegant, Raj said finally. Simple but effective. Let's run some simulations. The simulations confirmed Marcus's approach could improve efficiency by 7%, a significant gain in an industry where fractional improvements were celebrated. Word of the innovation spread, and soon Marcus found himself included in more critical discussions. His confidence grew as his contributions were recognized. Though he still felt like an outsider in many ways, he began keeping a journal, partly to organize his thoughts on various projects, and partly to process the dramatic changes in his life. In it, he also sketched ideas that went beyond his work assignments, including a concept for modular, energy-efficient housing that had been germinating in his mind during his years of homelessness. As his temporary housing period neared its end, Marcus began apartment hunting. Now, with a steady salary and rebuilt credit, he found a modest, one-bedroom place within walking distance of work. Nothing fancy, but clean comfortable. The night before he signed the lease, he received an unexpected email. Heard about your cooling solution. Impressive thinking. Let's discuss your progress. Lunch tomorrow, 1 p.m. Marcus stared at the screen, a mixture of pride and anxiety washing over him. After 6 weeks, Elon Musk had finally noticed him again. Was that a good thing or bad? And what exactly did discuss your progress mean? As he prepared for bed, Marcus realized he'd been so focused on proving himself professionally that he'd neglected to ask a crucial question. What did Elon Musk really want from him? Sleep eluded Marcus that night. He tossed and turned, his mind racing with questions about the upcoming lunch with Musk. By morning, dark circles shadowed his eyes, but he was determined to make a good impression nonetheless. The workday crawled by. Marcus found it difficult to focus on the battery schematics in front of him, his thoughts repeatedly drifting to the afternoon meeting. When a colleague asked him a direct question during the morning briefing, he had to ask them to repeat it. Late night? Raj asked afterward, one eyebrow raised. Something like that, Marcus replied, not wanting to mention the lunch with their CEO. At 12:45, Marcus headed to the executive floor, his stomach tight with nerves. The receptionist directed him to a small conference room with a view of the sprawling Tesla campus. Musk arrived precisely at 1, a paper bag in hand. Hope you like sandwiches, he said without preamble. The cafeteria makes decent ones. Sandwiches are fine, Marcus replied, taken aback by the casual nature of what he'd imagined would be a formal meeting. Musk distributed the food and sat down immediately, unwrapping his sandwich. So, the cooling system modification, Raj tells me it could improve efficiency by 7%. That's what the simulations show, Marcus confirmed. We're building a prototype to test the real-world performance next week. Where'd you get the idea? It's not an approach we've tried before. Marcus explained how he'd adapted a concept from naval propulsion systems, combining it with what he'd learned about Tesla's battery technology. Musk listened intently, occasionally interrupting with incisive questions that revealed a deep understanding of the engineering principles involved. It was clear he wasn't just a businessman who owned a tech company. He genuinely understood the science. That's the kind of cross-disciplinary thinking we need more of, Musk said when Marcus finished. People get too siloed in their expertise. Thank you, Marcus replied, feeling a small swell of pride. How are you settling in otherwise? Housing situation worked out? Yes, I'm signing a lease tomorrow, and the work is challenging but rewarding. Musk nodded, taking another bite of his sandwich. And your friends from under the bridge? The question caught Marcus off guard. They're managing. Dante enrolled in a GED program. Lena's health is stable for now, but not ideal. Not ideal, Musk observed. No, Marcus admitted. Not ideal. I meant what I said about helping them too. I appreciate that, but it's complicated. They need different kinds of help, medical care, education, job training. It's not as simple as just offering them jobs here, Musk shrugged. Most problems are solvable with the right resources and approach. Your friend's situation included. Before Marcus could respond, Musk's phone buzzed. He checked it and stood abruptly. Another fire to put out. We'll continue this discussion soon. Keep up the good work, Marcus. And just like that, he was gone again, leaving Marcus with half-eaten sandwiches and more questions than answers. As Marcus walked back to his department, he overheard voices from the break room. Just another of Elon's rescue projects, someone was saying. Remember that artist he hired after seeing her work on Twitter? Yeah, but at least she was young, another voice replied. What's he going to do with some homeless old guy? It's clearly just a PR stunt. I heard he returned Musk's wallet or something, probably engineered the whole thing to get noticed. Marcus froze outside the door, heat rising in his face. He'd been naive to think his unusual hiring circumstances wouldn't generate gossip. His cooling system idea wasn't bad, though, a third voice chimed in. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. The first voice laughed. Besides, Raj probably helped him with it. Making the charity case look good reflects well on the department. Marcus quietly backed away, his earlier pride evaporating. He returned to his desk and tried to focus on work, but the words echoed in his mind. Rescue project, charity case, PR stunt. Was that all he was? Had his contributions been meaningful, or was everyone just humoring him on Musk's orders? That evening, instead of going directly home, Marcus took a detour to the underpass. He hadn't visited in person for several weeks, though he called regularly. He needed to see familiar faces. People who knew him as Marcus, not as Musk's charity case. The encampment looked smaller than he remembered, or perhaps his perspective had changed. Old Pete sat in his usual spot, whittling a piece of wood. He nodded curtly at Marcus but didn't speak. Lena was nowhere to be seen, which sent a spike of worry through Marcus's chest. When he asked about her, Pete shrugged. Hospital. Heart acting up again. Which hospital? Marcus demanded. County. Where else would they take her? Marcus found Dante sitting alone near Lena's empty spot, his school books spread around him. Marcus, the boy's face lit up, then quickly sobered. You heard about Lena? Just now. That's what happened. She couldn't breathe right. Got all dizzy. Someone called an ambulance 2 days ago. Dante looked down. I visited yesterday, but they said she needs some operation she can't afford. Marcus felt a stab of guilt. He'd been so absorbed in his new life, his new challenges, that he'd failed to check in frequently enough. I'll go see her tonight, he promised. Dante nodded, then gestured to his books. I'm keeping up with the program, though. Just got a B+ on my last math test. That's fantastic, Marcus said, genuinely proud. Despite everything, Dante was persevering. How about you? Are you eating regularly? Staying safe? A shadow crossed Dante's face. Mostly. There's these guys who've been coming around offering quick money for deliveries. Some of the younger kids are getting involved. Drug runners. Marcus had seen it before. Gangs recruiting homeless youth as couriers because they attracted less police attention. Have they approached you? Marcus asked sharply. Yeah, but I told them no. I got goals now. Dante straightened his shoulders, but they're persistent, and some days, when the hunger really bites, he trailed off. Marcus pulled out his wallet and handed Dante all the cash he had, about $200 for food only. he said firmly, "and call me if those guys give you trouble." After promising to return the following day with more support, Marcus headed to the county hospital. The fluorescent-lit corridors and antiseptic smell brought back painful memories of Sarah's final months. He pushed them aside, focusing on finding Lena. She looked tiny in the hospital bed, tubes running into her veins, her skin ashen against the white sheets, but her eyes brightened when she saw him. "Well, look who remembered us little people," she teased, though her voice was weak. "I should have come sooner," Marcus said, taking her hand. "Nonsense. You've been busy building your new life. That's exactly what you should be doing." She squeezed his fingers with surprising strength. "Besides, I'm just having a little tune-up. Nothing to worry about." But the doctor's assessment, which Marcus insisted on hearing, told a different story. Lena needed heart valve surgery, and soon. Without insurance, the prospects were grim. They would stabilize her and discharge her, but without the operation, her condition would only deteriorate. Marcus left the hospital with a heavy heart and a growing sense of failure. His new job, his new apartment. What did they matter if he couldn't help the people who had supported him through his darkest times? The following day at work, Marcus found it impossible to concentrate during the team meeting. Raj noticed his distraction. "Everything all right, Holloway? You seem off today." "Sorry," Marcus mumbled. "Personal matters." Raj raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. After the meeting, Marcus stayed behind, gathering his courage. "Actually, I could use some advice," he said. "It's about health insurance, specifically for someone who isn't covered." Briefly, he explained Lena's situation. Raj listened thoughtfully. "That's a tough one," he admitted. "The procedure sounds expensive. Have you considered talking to Mr. Musk directly?" "He seemed interested in helping your friends." Marcus hesitated. After overhearing his colleagues' comments, approaching Musk felt like confirming their perception of him as a charity case. But Lena's life was at stake. "I'll think about it," he said. That night, Marcus worked late researching medical charity programs on his company laptop. Around 9 p.m., most of the office had emptied. Exhausted, he went to the break room for coffee, leaving his notebook on the conference table. The notebook contained not only his personal journal entries, but also his sketches for the energy-efficient housing concept he'd been developing, an idea born from his experiences with homelessness, designed specifically for transitional housing with minimal environmental impact and cost. When he returned with his coffee, Raj was standing by the table, the open notebook in his hands. "This is interesting," Raj said, not looking up. "Very interesting." Marcus froze, mortified. The journal contained his private thoughts, including his insecurities about being seen as a charity case. "That's personal," he said stiffly. Raj closed the notebook and handed it back. "The housing design isn't just personal, it's potentially valuable. Have you shown it to anyone in the Energy Solutions division?" "No, it's just something I've been thinking about, a side project." "You should develop it further," Raj suggested. "It aligns well with Tesla's sustainability goals." Marcus nodded non-committally, eager to end the conversation and embarrassed by the invasion of privacy. He packed up his things and headed home, the day's accumulated stresses weighing heavily on him. That night, he made a difficult decision. Lena needed help now, not later. His pride wasn't worth her life. He would approach Musk about assistance for her medical bills, even if it meant confirming his status as a rescue project. As for his future at Tesla, perhaps it was time to accept that some of his colleagues would never see him as an equal, no matter his contributions. The question was whether he could live with that, or whether it was time to reconsider his place there and his responsibility to those he'd left behind. Marcus arrived at work early the next morning, determined to speak with Musk directly about Lena's situation. However, when he checked his email, he found a company-wide announcement. Musk would be traveling for the next 2 weeks, overseeing projects at SpaceX and attending conferences in Europe. Frustration welled up inside him. 2 weeks might be too long for Lena to wait. He needed another solution, and quickly. As he scrolled through the rest of his messages, one subject line froze him in place. "Meeting request. Your housing concept." The email was from Victoria Reynolds, Director of Special Projects, requesting a meeting at 10 a.m. to discuss the innovative housing design noted by Raj Patel. Marcus's first reaction was anger. Not only had Raj looked through his personal journal, but he'd also shared the contents with others without permission. His second reaction was confusion. Why would Tesla be interested in affordable housing designs? At 10 a.m. sharp, Marcus arrived at the executive conference room, his notebook tucked under his arm. To his surprise, the room was already filled with people he didn't recognize, along with Raj, who gave him an encouraging nod. "Marcus, welcome," said a tall woman who introduced herself as Victoria. "We're eager to hear about your concept." "I'm sorry, but I'm confused," Marcus admitted. "This design is just a personal project. It's not related to battery technology or vehicles." "Tesla Energy is about more than just batteries for cars," Victoria explained. "We're constantly exploring sustainable living solutions." Raj mentioned, "Your design offers a unique approach to energy-efficient transitional housing." Raj stepped forward. "I apologize for not speaking to you first, Marcus, but when I saw your sketches, I recognized their potential value immediately." Marcus hesitated, still uncomfortable with the invasion of privacy, but intrigued by the unexpected interest. Reluctantly, he opened his notebook to the housing designs and began to explain. "The concept came from my experiences with homelessness," he said, finding strength in honesty. "Traditional shelters and low-income housing often fail because they're designed from an outsider's perspective. They don't account for real-world needs or dignity." As he warmed to the subject, Marcus's initial discomfort faded. He outlined how his modular units could be rapidly deployed when Earth were solar-powered with Tesla battery storage and cost a fraction of traditional construction. Most importantly, they provided privacy and autonomy while building a sustainable community model. When he finished, the room was quiet. Then, Victoria spoke. "This is precisely the kind of innovation we've been looking for. It aligns perfectly with our mission of accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. With some refinement," added an engineer, "Marcus, this could be developed into a viable product line." "I don't understand," Marcus said. "Why would Tesla be interested in homeless housing?" "Not just homeless housing," Victoria corrected. "Affordable, sustainable housing solutions that can be deployed anywhere: disaster relief, developing regions, urban renewal. The market potential is enormous and the social impact even greater." The discussion continued for nearly 2 hours as the team explored various aspects of Marcus's design. By the end, a clear picture had emerged. Tesla was seriously considering developing his concept into a new subsidiary focused on sustainable housing solutions. "We'll need to run this by Elon when he returns," Victoria concluded. "But I'm confident he'll see the potential." "In the meantime, Marcus, I'd like you to work with our design team to develop a more detailed proposal." As the meeting broke up, Raj approached Marcus. "I hope you're not still angry about the notebook. I saw an opportunity that could benefit everyone, including your friends under the bridge." Marcus's mind raced to Lena in her hospital bed. "Speaking of my friends, I need help with something urgent," he explained. Lena's situation. Raj listened thoughtfully, then said, "Let me make some calls. I can't promise anything, but Tesla has relationships with several medical foundations." By afternoon, Raj had arranged for Lena to be evaluated for a cardiac charity program that partnered with leading hospitals. It wasn't a guaranteed solution, but it was a start, one that didn't require Marcus to go cap in hand to Musk. With that immediate concern addressed, Marcus threw himself into developing the housing proposal. For the first time since joining Tesla, he felt truly engaged, combining his engineering skills with his personal experiences to create something meaningful. The next 2 weeks passed in a creative blur. Marcus split his time between his regular battery team duties and the special housing project. He visited Lena regularly, encouraged by her acceptance into the cardiac program, which had scheduled her surgery for the following month. He also checked on Dante, who proudly showed off his improving grades. On the day of Musk's expected return, Marcus was working late, finalizing the housing presentation with Victoria's team. When he finally headed home around 9 p.m., he realized he'd left his notebook in the conference room. When he returned to retrieve it, he found the room occupied. Elon Musk sat alone at the table, Marcus's notebook open in front of him. "Mr. Musk," Marcus said, startled, "I thought you were returning tomorrow." "Came back early," Musk replied, not looking up from the notebook. I'm curious, Marcus, why didn't you tell me about this housing concept when we met for lunch? It's far more innovative than your battery cooling system. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. It was just a personal project. I didn't think it was relevant to my work here. Everything innovative is relevant, Musk countered, finally looking up. That's what Tesla is about, finding new ways to solve old problems. He closed the notebook and handed it to Marcus. Victoria's team has briefed me on the proposal they've been developing with you. It has potential, significant potential. Thank you, Marcus said, uncertain where the conversation was heading, but I have questions. Musk continued. Why didn't you ever mention your friend's ongoing struggles? The woman who needs heart surgery, the boy being recruited by drug dealers? I told you I was willing to help them. Marcus felt a flash of defensiveness. With all due respect, sir, I didn't want to be seen as taking advantage of your generosity. I've already heard whispers about being your charity case or rescue project, and that bothers you, Musk asked, genuinely curious. Yes, Marcus admitted. I wanted to succeed or fail here on my own merits. Musk nodded thoughtfully. Pride. I understand that better than you might think. He stood stretching his back. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., meet me at the main entrance. Bring your notebook. May I ask why? We are going to visit your friends under the bridge, Musk stated matter-of-factly. I want to see firsthand what we're dealing with. Marcus was speechless. The idea of Elon Musk visiting the homeless encampment seemed absurd. That's not necessary. It is to me, Musk interrupted. 7 a.m. sharp. I don't like waiting. Without further explanation, he left, leaving Marcus standing in the conference room, notebook in hand, wondering what tomorrow would bring. As he walked home, Marcus's mind raced with concerns. How would his friends react to Musk's presence? How would Musk respond to the harsh realities of their living conditions? Was this just curiosity on the billionaire's part, or something more? And most importantly, what would happen to the housing project if the visit went poorly? Despite these worries, Marcus also felt a strange sense of relief. Tomorrow would bring clarity one way or another. Either Musk would see the value in helping people like Lena and Dante, or he wouldn't. Either the housing project would move forward, or it would die in the conference room. For the first time since joining Tesla, Marcus felt he might be on the verge of understanding what Elon Musk really wanted from him, and whether their goals aligned or collided. Marcus arrived at Tesla headquarters at 6:45 a.m. The streets of Palo Alto were still quiet in the early morning light. To his surprise, Musk was already waiting, leaning against a vehicle that was decidedly not a Tesla, a nondescript gray SUV with tinted windows. Good morning, Musk said, checking his watch. You're early. I appreciate punctuality. The military habit, Marcus replied. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. Musk nodded in approval. We're taking this instead of a Tesla, he explained, gesturing to the SUV. Less attention that way. The drive to San Francisco was mostly silent. Musk spent much of it on his phone, rapidly typing messages while occasionally asking Marcus clarifying questions about his housing design. As they neared the underpass, Marcus felt increasingly nervous. I should warn you, he said. The conditions are difficult, and the people there have had negative experiences with authority figures. I'm not an authority figure to them, Musk replied simply. I'm just a guy in jeans. Marcus doubted anyone would fail to recognize one of the world's most famous billionaires, but he kept that thought to himself. The driver parked a block from the encampment, and Marcus led the way on foot. As they approached, he could see that the morning routines were already underway. People folding blankets, sharing coffee from a communal pot, preparing for another day of survival. Old Pete saw them first, his weathered face registering shock as he recognized Musk. A ripple of awareness spread through the camp. Dante emerged from his makeshift shelter, eyes wide with disbelief. Marcus, the boy called, hurrying over, and holy, you're really him. This is Dante, Marcus introduced, one of our community's brightest. I've heard about you, Musk said, offering his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Dante shook it. Marcus says you're working on your GED. Yes, sir, Dante replied, visibly trying to contain his excitement. Planning to study computer science after good field, Musk said with a nod. High demand, interesting problems to solve. As they continued through the camp, Marcus made introductions. Some residents hung back, suspicious of the unexpected visitor, but others approached, curious about why Elon Musk was touring their homeless encampment at 7:30 in the morning. "Where's Lena today?" Marcus asked, not seeing her in her usual spot. Back in the hospital, old Pete reported gruffly. Breathing got bad again yesterday. Marcus felt a stab of worry. "Is she at county again?" Pete nodded. "Same place. They're just keeping her comfortable till that surgery's arranged." Musk, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "Tell me about Lena." As they walked, Marcus explained Lena's situation, her teaching background, the medical catastrophes that had left her homeless, her current heart condition. He didn't editorialize or appeal for help. He simply stated the facts. Musk listened intently, occasionally asking pointed questions about the healthcare system failures that had led to her circumstances. His expression remained neutral, but Marcus noticed his jaw tightening as the details accumulated. After touring the entire encampment, Musk asked to see Marcus's original sleeping area. Standing in the small space between concrete pillars, Musk was quiet for a long moment. 3 years, he said finally. "You lived here for 3 years and still managed to maintain your engineering mindset, developing housing concepts and keeping your technical skills sharp." It wasn't a question, but Marcus answered, "Anyway, I had a lot of time to think. I grew up with very little," Musk said unexpectedly. "Not homeless, but genuinely poor at times. People assume I was always privileged because of my current success, but that's not the case." Mark was surprised by the personal disclosure. "The difference," Musk continued, "is that I had opportunities, education, mentors, second chances when I failed." He surveyed the encampment again. "These people have the same potential but no opportunities. That's what I've been trying to say with the housing concept." Marcus agreed. "It's not just about shelter. It's about creating stability so people can rebuild their lives." Musk nodded thoughtfully. "Let's go see Lena at County Hospital." They found Lena in the same ward as before, looking frailer than ever. Her eyes widened when she saw who accompanied Marcus. "Well, I must be hallucinating from these medications," she quipped weakly, "because I could swear Elon Musk just walked into my hospital room." "The medications are working fine, Mrs. Chen," Musk replied with a small smile. "I wanted to meet the woman Marcus speaks so highly of." "It's M. Chen, actually," Lena corrected him. "Never married, and Marcus exaggerates. I'm just an old-school teacher who's had a run of bad luck." "Teachers shaped my life," Musk said, pulling up a chair beside her bed. "I believe they're among our most undervalued resources." For the next 20 minutes, Musk sat with Lena, asking about her teaching career, her medical journey, and her observations about the failures of social support systems. Marcus watched in amazement as the billionaire took notes on his phone, treating Lena's insights with the same seriousness he might give to a top engineer or executive. When a nurse entered to announce that visiting hours weren't officially started yet, Musk simply smiled and said, "We're just finishing up," in a tone that somehow prevented further objections. As they prepared to leave, Musk asked Lena what one thing would make the biggest difference for her right now, besides the heart surgery. Lena didn't hesitate. "Knowing that Dante gets his chance. That boy has incredible potential, but the streets are pulling at him hard." Musk nodded. "Marcus says the same thing." He squeezed her hand gently. "Rest well, Miss Chen. I believe we'll be seeing improvements in your situation very soon." Outside the hospital, Musk was quiet as they walked back to the SUV. Finally, he spoke. "I've been an idiot." Marcus wasn't sure how to respond to that. "I offered to help your friends when we first met," Musk continued. "But I did it casually, like moving chess pieces. Then I got distracted by other priorities and forgot. That's unacceptable." "You've given me an incredible opportunity," Marcus pointed out. "That's more than most would do." "It's not enough," Musk said firmly. "Not when I have the resources to do more." He stopped walking and faced Marcus directly. "I want to implement your housing concept, starting with a pilot project right here in San Francisco. Not just as a Tesla business venture, but as an immediate solution for communities like yours." Marcus was stunned. That would take significant resources and coordination with the city. "I'm good at getting things done when I decide they matter." Musk interrupted, "And this matters." He started walking again, thoughts clearly racing. We'll start with Lena. I'll have my foundation cover her surgery and recovery at a better facility. For Dante, we'll arrange proper housing and education support, a scholarship through my foundation and the others. Marcus asked about the pilot housing project. It will prioritize the people you've been living with, Musk said. Those who want to participate anyway. Some may choose not to, and that's their right. As they reached the SUV, Musk paused again. There's something else you should know, Marcus, something I haven't been entirely forthcoming about. Marcus tensed, waiting. Returning my wallet wasn't the first time we met, Musk said quietly, though he was not surprised Marcus didn't remember. It was a brief encounter many years ago. Before Marcus could ask for clarification, Musk's phone rang. He checked it and grimaced. I have to take this. It's an emergency at SpaceX. He opened the SUV door, but turned back to Marcus. We'll continue this conversation later. In the meantime, I'm putting you in charge of the housing pilot project. Victoria will provide whatever resources you need. As the SUV pulled away, Marcus stood on the sidewalk processing everything that had just happened. Musk's cryptic comment about a previous meeting left him bewildered. When had they met before, and why would Musk remember an encounter that Marcus couldn't recall? Questions aside, one thing was clear. Elon Musk had just committed to turning Marcus's concept into reality, with the potential to help not just Lena and Dante, but countless others in similar situations. For the first time since Sarah's death, Marcus felt something he'd long forgotten. Purpose. Not just survival, not just doing a job, but creating meaningful change in the world. As he headed back to work, Marcus reflected on how dramatically his life had transformed in just a few months. From sleeping under a bridge to leading a potential Tesla subsidiary focused on sustainable housing solutions. It had all started with a simple act of integrity, returning a lost wallet. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of activity. Marcus found himself at the center of Tesla's newest initiative, Tesla Homes, a sustainable housing division focusing on affordable, energy-efficient dwellings. The pilot project, located on a previously abandoned lot in San Francisco, was nearing completion. The site consisted of 20 modular units arranged in a thoughtfully designed community that included shared gardens, solar arrays, and a central building for educational and vocational programs. Each home was constructed using sustainable materials, powered by Tesla solar tiles and batteries, and designed with both dignity and practicality in mind. Marcus walked through the nearly finished community, checking final details before the official opening ceremony scheduled for the following week. The homes looked exactly as he had envisioned them in his sketches. Under the bridge, only better, refined by Tesla's engineering team and built with resources he could never have imagined having access to. Lena, fully recovered from her successful heart surgery, had become the community's unofficial coordinator. She stood in the central courtyard, clipboard in hand, directing volunteers who were planting the communal garden. The tomatoes need more space, she instructed a young woman. Remember, they'll grow twice this size by summer. Seeing Marcus, she waved him over. What do you think? Will we be ready for the grand opening? We're ahead of schedule, actually, he replied. The final inspections are happening today, and the furniture arrives tomorrow. Dante was looking for you earlier, Lena said. He's over in the Learning Center setting up the computers. The Learning Center had been Dante's idea, a space equipped with technology where residents could access educational resources, apply for jobs, or learn new skills. At 19, Dante was now enrolled in community college, studying computer science while working part-time with Tesla's IT department. Marcus found him surrounded by boxes of equipment, expertly connecting cables and monitors. Hey, old man, Dante greeted him with a grin. What do you think of our tech setup? Impressive, Marcus said, surveying the room. Hard to believe this was just an idea in a notebook 6 months ago. Hard to believe I'm going to be teaching coding classes here, Dante added. Sometimes I still expect to wake up under that bridge. Marcus understood the feeling. Despite his success at Tesla and the progress of the housing project, there were still mornings when he opened his eyes expecting to see concrete pillars overhead instead of his apartment ceiling. Mr. Holloway, a Tesla employee, appeared in the doorway. Miss Reynolds is looking for you. There's a problem with the presentation for next week. Victoria Reynolds had become Marcus's closest ally at Tesla, championing the housing project through corporate hurdles and bureaucratic challenges. If she was concerned about something, it was worth immediate attention. Marcus found Victoria in the temporary office they'd set up on site, surrounded by presentation boards and digital displays for the opening ceremony. "There you are," she said, looking uncharacteristically flustered. "We have an issue with your speech." "My speech?" Marcus repeated. He had prepared brief remarks for the ceremony, focusing on the collaborative nature of the project and thanking the many people who had made it possible. "Elon wants you to be the primary speaker," Victoria explained. "Not just a few remarks. He wants you to tell the whole story, from homelessness to Tesla to this project." Marcus frowned. "That wasn't the plan." "I'm not comfortable being the face of this," he insisted. "Victoria," she said apologetically, "he says this project is your vision, your story. He'll speak briefly. But he wants you to take center stage." The idea made Marcus deeply uncomfortable. He had never sought the spotlight, preferring to work behind the scenes. "There's more," Victoria added, reaching for a folder on her desk. "The PR team prepared a press packet about you, but Elon rejected it. He sent this over instead with instructions that you should review it before the ceremony." She handed Marcus the folder. Inside was a single newspaper clipping, yellowed with age. The headline read, "Local Serviceman Helps Stranded Immigrant." Marcus scanned the brief article dated 20 years earlier. Navy Chief Petty Officer Marcus Holloway, 37, went beyond the call of duty yesterday when he assisted a young immigrant whose car had broken down on Highway 101. The South African man, new to the country and unfamiliar with local services, had been stranded for hours when Holloway stopped to help. After repairing the vehicle, Holloway refused payment, telling the grateful motorist to help someone else when you're in a position to do so. When contacted, Holloway declined to comment, saying simply, "It's what anyone would have done." Marcus stared at the article, a vague memory stirring. He recalled the incident: a young man with a foreign accent, a broken-down car, a simple repair job. But he had never known the man's name, and the encounter had been brief. One of many times he had stopped to help stranded motorists. "I don't understand," he said to Victoria. "What does this have to do with the housing project?" "I think you should ask Elon," she replied. "He's arriving in 20 minutes for a final walkthrough." When Musk's car pulled up, Marcus was waiting, the folder in his hand. The billionaire greeted him warmly, immediately asking about the project's progress. "Everything's on track," Marcus replied. "But I need to ask you about this." He held up the newspaper clipping. Musk's expression shifted subtly. "Let's walk," he suggested. As they toured the nearly completed housing units, Musk finally spoke. "I recognized your name when Vanessa brought me your information after you returned my wallet. Marcus Holloway isn't common, and I never forget a face, even one I saw briefly 20 years ago." "You were the stranded motorist?" Marcus asked, the pieces finally clicking into place. Musk nodded. "I had just moved to California. My car broke down, and I had no one to call, very little money, and a meeting that could make or break my future. You stopped, fixed my alternator belt in 15 minutes, and refused any payment." Marcus vaguely remembered the skinny young man with the unusual accent standing helplessly beside a battered old car. "It was a simple repair," he said. "Anyone with basic mechanical knowledge could have done it, but no one else stopped." Musk pointed out, "I had been there for hours, and what you said to me that day stuck with me. Help someone else when you're in a position to do so. I've tried to live by that in my own way." They had reached the central courtyard, where residents and workers were busy with final preparations. Lena waved from the garden, and Dante emerged from the learning center, deep in conversation with another young person from the bridge community. "When you returned my wallet," Musk continued, "I didn't immediately connect you to that memory, but something about your manner seemed familiar. It was only when I ran a background check, standard procedure for new hires, that I saw your military record, and the pieces fell into place." "So the job offer, all of this," Marcus gestured around them, "was because of that random encounter 20 years ago?" "No," Musk replied firmly. "The job offer was because you showed integrity in returning the wallet, and because your background matched skills we needed. This project exists because your housing concept is genuinely innovative and addresses a critical need." He paused. But did I look for ways to help you because you once helped me? Yes, I've been searching for you for years, actually. Marcus was stunned. Years? That day you helped me. I was on my way to a meeting that eventually led to my first success. I've often thought that if I had missed that meeting, my entire life might have taken a different path. I told myself that if I ever made it big, I would find the serviceman who helped me and repay the favor. Musk's expression was uncharacteristically soft. It just took longer than I expected to find you. The revelation left Marcus speechless. All this time he had wondered about Musk's motives, suspicious of charity or publicity stunts. The truth was both simpler and more profound, a 20-year-old act of kindness coming full circle. I don't know what to say, Marcus admitted finally. Say you'll tell this story at the opening ceremony, Musk replied. Not for me, but for everyone who needs to hear that small acts of decency matter, that they can have consequences beyond anything we imagine. Marcus looked around at the community taking shape, at Lena teaching gardening skills to former homeless residents, at Dante mentoring younger people in technology, at old Pete carving wooden signs for each housing unit. This place existed because of countless small decisions and actions, a chain of events that began with a simple roadside repair 20 years ago. I'll tell the story, he agreed quietly. The following week, as cameras flashed and reporters gathered, Marcus stood at the podium, more nervous than he had ever been in combat situations. But as he began to speak, sharing the journey from that long-ago highway encounter to this moment, he felt a profound sense of completion, as if his life, with all its twists and detours, finally made perfect sense. In the front row, Elon Musk listened with a rare smile, nodding occasionally as Marcus described how one small act of kindness had set in motion events that would ultimately help hundreds of people reclaim their lives and dignity. What neither man could know was that among the journalists recording the event was a young reporter whose own life would be changed by hearing this story, setting in motion another chain of events that would touch countless more lives in ways neither Marcus nor Musk could imagine. The grand opening of Tesla Homes was a tremendous success. News outlets across the country covered the story of the innovative housing community and the unlikely partnership between a formerly homeless veteran and one of the world's richest men. The project was immediately hailed as a potential model for addressing homelessness through sustainable design and human-centered planning. In the days following the ceremony, Marcus found himself unexpectedly in demand. Interview requests flooded in, and other cities reached out to explore implementing similar projects. What had begun as a personal journey was rapidly evolving into a movement. You're trending on social media, Dante informed him with a grin one morning, showing Marcus his phone. There's even a hashtag, #ChantWalletEffect. Marcus shook his head, still uncomfortable with the attention. I never wanted to be the face of this project. Too late, Lena said, looking up from her tablet where she was reviewing applications for the next housing community already in the planning stages. People need symbols, Marcus, stories they can relate to. Perhaps she was right, Marcus conceded. If his story helped generate support for more communities like this one, the discomfort of public attention was a small price to pay. A month after the opening, Marcus received an email from a journalist named Sophia Reyes requesting an in-depth interview for a feature article. Something about her thoughtful questions stood out from the dozens of similar requests, and Marcus agreed to meet her. They sat in the community garden where residents were harvesting the first vegetables of the season. Sophia, a serious young woman with intelligent eyes, had clearly done her research. Your housing design incorporates elements from temporary military shelters, she observed. Was that a conscious adaptation from your Navy experience? I never thought about it that way, Marcus admitted, but you're right. Good design principles apply universally. As the interview progressed, Marcus found himself sharing more personal details than he had with other reporters. About Sarah, about his struggles with PTSD, about the darkest moments under the bridge when hope seemed impossible. What surprised you most about this journey? Sophia asked. Marcus considered the question carefully. How interconnected our lives truly are, he answered finally. 20 years ago, I stopped to help a stranded motorist, a small action I barely remembered. That same man later changed my life through an equally small action, dropping his wallet. Now we're building communities that will help thousands of people, like ripples in a pond. Sophia suggested, exactly. We never know which of our actions will matter most in the end. After the interview, as they walked toward the exit, Sophia hesitated. There's something I didn't mention earlier, she said. This story is personal for me. My mother was homeless for 3 years when I was a teenager. Marcus stopped walking, giving her his full attention. She had mental health issues, lost her job, and eventually our apartment. Sophia continued. The system failed her completely. I lived with my grandmother while trying to help my mom, but nothing worked until a community organization similar to this one, though much less sophisticated, provided her with stable housing and support services. And now? Marcus asked gently. She's doing well, working as a peer counselor for others with similar challenges. Sophia smiled. Your story reminds me of the couple who founded that organization. They had no special resources, just determination and a clear vision of what people like my mom really needed. After Sophia left, Marcus found himself reflecting on their conversation. The journalist's personal connection to homelessness had given her insights many others missed. Her article, when published the following week, captured the essence of the Tesla Homes project in a way that resonated deeply with readers. The piece went viral, drawing attention not just to the San Francisco project, but to the broader issue of homelessness and innovative approaches to addressing it. Sophia became a respected voice on the topic, combining personal experience with rigorous research. 6 months later, Marcus stood with Elon Musk at the groundbreaking ceremony for the 5th Tesla Homes community, this one in Detroit. The model had been refined with each iteration, incorporating feedback from residents and adapting to different climates and urban contexts. We've come a long way from sketches in a notebook, Musk observed, surveying the construction site. And from sleeping under a bridge, Marcus added. After the ceremony, as they walked back to their vehicle, Musk handed Marcus a folder. I thought you should see this. Inside was a newspaper article about a new foundation launched by journalist Sophia Reyes, dedicated to supporting innovative housing solutions for homeless families. The foundation's first project was a creative arts center where homeless individuals could develop marketable skills while finding community and purpose. Your interview with her sparked something, Musk said. She's raised significant funding, including from several of my colleagues in the tech industry. Marcus read the article with growing amazement. Sophia directly credited her conversation with him as the catalyst for creating the foundation. The ripples were indeed spreading further than he could have imagined. Later that evening in his hotel room, Marcus called Lena to share the news. It's remarkable. She agreed when he explained about Sophia's foundation, but not surprising, genuine stories of hope are rare and powerful. She paused. Speaking of hope, Dante was accepted to the computer science program at Stanford with a full scholarship. That's fantastic, Marcus exclaimed. He's worked so hard, he wants you to come to the celebration dinner next week, Lena added. He says none of this would have happened without you. After they hung up, Marcus sat by the window watching the lights of Detroit shine against the night sky. From his pocket, he took Sarah's wedding ring, which he still carried everywhere. In difficult moments during his homeless years, he had been tempted to sell it, but something had always stopped him. You would have loved seeing all this, Sarah, he whispered. How one thing leads to another in ways we can never predict. 5 years later, Marcus stood on a stage in Washington, D.C., accepting a Presidential Medal of Freedom for his work transforming approaches to homelessness across America. Tesla Homes had expanded to 30 communities nationwide, and the model had been adapted by organizations around the world. In the audience sat Lena, now directing a national teacher-to-teacher mentoring program. Dante recently graduated from Stanford and heading a tech nonprofit focused on educational access, and dozens of others whose lives had intersected with Marcus's along his remarkable journey. As he accepted the medal, Marcus shared the story once more, of a lost wallet, a decades-old act of kindness repaid, of how integrity and second chances could transform not just individual lives, but entire communities. The true value of what we do rarely reveals itself immediately, he concluded. The small kindnesses, the moments of integrity when no one is watching, the hand extended to someone in need. These are the actions that echo through time in ways we cannot foresee. What Marcus didn't mention, what he had only recently discovered, was that the stranded motorist story had taken on a life of its own. It was now being taught in elementary schools as part of character education curriculum, inspiring a new generation to understand how small actions can have profound consequences. After the ceremony, a young White House aide approached Marcus with an envelope. "This came for you," she said. "The president thought you might want to see it privately." Inside was a letter from a fourth-grade student in Iowa. "Dear Mr. Holloway, my class learned about how you helped Mr. Musk when his car broke down, and then he helped you when you were homeless, and then you both helped many other people. Our teacher asked us to think about how we can help others now, not just when we grow up. Yesterday, I helped a new kid who dropped his lunch tray. Everyone else laughed, but I remembered your story and helped him clean up. He's my friend now. Someday, I want to build houses for people too. Your friend, Emma." Marcus carefully refolded the letter, his vision blurring with tears. Of all the recognition he had received, this simple note from a child who had truly understood the message meant the most. The wallet that Elon Musk had dropped and Marcus had returned now sat in a display case at the first Tesla Homes community in San Francisco, a humble reminder that the most powerful catalyst for change can be the smallest act of human decency, and that no one can predict how far the ripples of integrity might travel through time. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed the found wallet. I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If this story about how a simple act of kindness can change lives touched your heart, please hit that like button to help spread this message of integrity and compassion with others who might need it. And if you're enjoying stories like this one, check out the video appearing on your screen right now for another tale that might just inspire your day. Remember, we never know how our smallest actions might create ripples that change someone's world forever.